And here we are live once again. Good evening, folks. Welcome to Friday Night Tech Talk. I'm Mobile Geezer, which you're well aware of if you're watching from my YouTube channel, but you might be watching from one of my Facebook IDs, one of which is Mobile Geezer and the other is George Hayes. I live stream to all three at the same time, and we do this every week at this time. I picked some articles that have come out in the last week, and if there's a big event, I find an article maybe telling us about that. Other than that, I try to find some articles that might be interesting to other people that are into tech the way I am, and I assume you are to some degree or you wouldn't be here. And if you're new here, please type something in the comments and let us know where you're from. And Eleanor is the first one in. Enjoy your weekend. Glad you're here first. We'll see who else comes in first. As I said, if you're new, please type something in the comments. Let us know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel as yet, please do that. So I picked some articles this week for you guys. Oh, I have checked to see if Ted had said anything about coming in tonight, which he hasn't. But he came in last week, just a little before the end, and always glad whenever he does. And of course, there's always an outside chance that Will might drop in, or even Mike. So, other than that, every week I show you almost forgot. This is the third week, I think. If you scan that QR code and follow the link, you'll go to the show notes for tonight, which are on my webpage. And as I do every week, I will show you the show notes for tonight from my webpage. So let's go take a look at that. So if you want to follow along in the stories, you can click on the stories as I do, and you can, of course, read the stories on your own if you'd like. But this is this week's show notes. If you go to mobilegeezer.wordpress.com, just click on today's date. You'll get just the notes for tonight's show. So as I do every week, I'll give you a little preview of what we're going to talk about. No big event that I'm aware of this week. As I say every week, correct me if I'm wrong. So I just picked out some articles that I thought were interesting. And most of the time, I try to find articles that are interesting and to tech people, but maybe you haven't heard them everywhere. So here's our little preview. I just said, remember the dot-com boom? Is AI on the same path? And there's been a lot of talk about the AI bubble, which is what this story is about. So we'll check that out on the AP News. After that, I said another memory, CrowdStrike and the worldwide blue screen of death. And of course, this came out on 10/7/2025 because the original blue screen of death worldwide on all the Microsoft computers was on 10/7/2024. And I said, didn't affect Apple laptops. So I found this on Tech Radar. And there's a cool little video that Apple has made up about it that I think is hilarious. So we'll take a look at that. I found that on Tech Radar. And then, most of you know I have the OnePlus 13, which is one of the phones I brought to work today. This was my main phone at work, the OnePlus 13. And my secondary phone was my Pixel 10. But most of you know I still have the OnePlus 12, which I loved. I loved the OnePlus 13 even more, as many, many people did. Well, the OnePlus 15 will be out in probably in China this month. And now there's speculation it might come out even earlier here in the U.S. Last year it came out in January, so people are thinking it might come out here in November. So I said the not yet revealed 1 plus 15. Now keep in mind, in China, they're very superstitious about the number 14, so you almost never find it there. So that's why you find the 1 plus 13 followed by the 1 plus 15. So I've got an article. Is the not yet revealed 1 plus 15 better than the 1 plus 13? So Phone Arena had a story about that. And people are really starting to get excited about the 1 plus 15, including myself. And since I still have my 1 plus 12 and 13, if I get it, I will probably trade in my 1 plus 12 and try to keep the 15 and the 13 to compare against each other. So we'll see how that goes. So after that, just had a good story on CNET. I just said sensible advice, how to combine phone etiquette and phone safety. Basically, it's turn your phone face down. So just an interesting article. We'll take a look at that on CNET. Then I just said evenly apportioned AI, good for all. Android Central had a pretty good story about how ultimately AI, we can all kind of get the same AI features if we want the same ones. And in that regard, it's probably a good thing for all of us. So he'll make the point on the Android Central article. And then our last one, I'm going to take a little trip down memory lane with Android apps. I just said Android apps we love. Android Authority. Android Authority found 8 apps, a couple of them that are still around, but they're old Android apps, but are brought us to where we are today. So just a nice little walk down memory lane. So those will be the stories we'll go over today. I always try to remember to give us time for an open discussion at the end, which of course you will type into the comments and maybe we can discuss it. But feel free to discuss anything in the comments that comes up in the show notes or anything else you want. So if Ted comes in, I will certainly let you know. And if by some miracle either Will or Mike show up, I'll let you guys know that. But since there's nothing else new in the comments, nobody else has yet shown up, we'll go to our first story. So, remember the dot-com boom? Is AI on the same path? So let's go check it out. So on apnews.com. Is there an AI bubble? Financial institutions sound a warning. Yeah, some people are sick about hearing about AI, but it is useful to us if you just don't overdo it or drown in how much we hear about it. And it does get tiring sometimes. But let's see. So this was on AP News and came out 2 days ago by Kelvin Chan and Matt O'Brien. Let's go into read review and get rid of these ads. Let's see. Try once more. There are 2 types of read reviews. Okay, this one is working. All right. London AP, lingering doubts about the economic promise of artificial intelligence technology are starting to get the attention of financial institutions that raised warning flags this week about an AI investment bubble. And that's why I tied it back to .com, because the bubble is very much like .com, and that ended up blowing up. So people are wondering. Officials at the Bank of England on Wednesday flagged the growing risk that tech stock prices pumped up by the AI boom could burst, which is exactly what happened in 2000 with .com. The risk of a sharp market correction has increased, the UK central bank said. The head of the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, raised a similar alarm hours after the Bank of England's report. Global stock prices have been surging. Yeah, that's because everybody talks about what a big deal AI is, and maybe it is and maybe it isn't. We'll see. Fired up by optimism about the productivity-enhancing potential of AI. And yes, that is true. IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva said, you said it when somebody named George could say that. Georgieva said, I think that's how you say it. But financial conditions could turn abruptly, she warned in a speech ahead of the organization's annual meeting next week in Washington. Is there an AI bubble? Bubbles obviously are never very easy to identify, but we can see there are a few potential symptoms of a bubble in the current situation, said Adam Slater, lead economist at Oxford Economics. And people have been talking online for weeks about an AI bubble. So I think kind of everybody's expecting it. So, of course, everybody's expecting it to burst if it is a bubble. These symptoms include rapid growth in tech stock prices, the fact that tech stocks now comprise about 40% of the S&P 500, market valuations that appeared stretched beyond their worth, and a general sense of extreme optimism, highlight the word extreme, in terms of the underlying technology, despite the enormous uncertainties, and there are lots of those, around what this technology might ultimately yield. The most optimistic projections about the fruits of generative AI products foresee a transformation of the economy leading to annual productivity gains that Slater says have not been seen since the reconstruction of Europe after World War II. Now, of course, this is all being built up by the people that own these AI apps. And here's Brian. Glad you're here, brother. You and Elmer are the first two of the most faithful, of course. So I'm talking about, we have a first article about whether or not there is an AI bubble. At the lower end, economist Darren Acemoglu, I think, of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, has predicted a non-trivial but modest U.S. productivity gain of just 0.7% over a decade. You've got this incredibly wide range of possibilities, that's for sure. Nobody really knows where it's going to land. Doubts about the worth of top AI companies. Yeah, everybody keeps throwing money at these companies and they keep building it up more and more, trying to get more. Investors have closely watched the series of intertwined deals over recent months between top AI developers such as OpenAI, maker ChatGPT, and the companies building the costly computer chips and data centers needed to power these AI products. And as they build these data centers, everybody anywhere, and I mean anywhere near them, everybody's bills, electric bills, is going through the roof because of these data centers. So a lot of people don't want them in their communities. OpenAI doesn't turn a profit, but the privately held San Francisco firm is now the world's most valuable startup with a market valuation of $500 billion. And didn't Sam Altman push that as hard as he could, and still is. It recently signed major deals with chipmaker NVIDIA, the world's most valuable publicly traded company, and its rival AMD, and the $300 billion deal with tech giant Oracle for the build-out of future data centers. And keep in mind, the CEO of Oracle and the owner of Oracle also now owns the American part of TikTok, or at least is the main owner of the American part of TikTok. So very powerful. The Bank of England didn't name any specific companies, but said that on a number of measures, equity market valuations appear stretched, particularly for technology companies focused on artificial intelligence, and there are a lot of those. The report said stock market valuations are comparable to the peak of the 2000 dot-com bubble, which is why I put the heading that I did on this story, which then deflated and led to a recession. With tech stocks accounting for an increasingly large share of benchmark stock indexes, stock markets are particularly exposed, and should expectations around the impact of the AI become less optimistic. So they're worried about it, in other words. The bank outlined so-called downside risk, including shortages of electricity, data, or chips that could slow AI progress. Yeah, because wherever these places open up, everybody has all kinds of hits on their electricities and their bill goes through the roof. Or technological changes that could lessen the need for the type of AI infrastructure currently being built around the world. The IMF's Georgieva said current stock valuations are headed towards levels we saw during the bullishness of the internet 25 years ago, or the dot-com bubble. If a sharp correction were to occur, tighter financial conditions could drag down world growth. And that's exactly what happened in 2000. What the tech bosses say. Tech company bosses are downplaying the doomsayers. The current AI boom is an industrial rather than financial or banking bubble and will be beneficial for society even if it bursts, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos said. Now keep in mind, everybody here has some ownership of AI, so what do you expect them to say? The ones that are industrial are not nearly as bad. It could even be good because when the dust settles and you see who are the winners, society benefits from those inventions, Bezos said at a recent tech conference in Italy. This from the guy who benefited and got a whole lot richer during the COVID. So I don't think I'd particularly take his word. He tends to get rich when people are suffering, or richer. Let's see. And Brian is saying there's always a limit, AI included. Yeah, and we all found that out during .com, didn't we? And a lot of people think we're about to find it out again with AI. He compared it to still Jeff Bezos to a previous biotech bubble in the 1990s that resulted in new life-saving drugs. So he's trying to put a good spin on this. The excitement around AI is drawing in a huge wave of money, that's for sure, to fund new business ideas, but it's also clouding investors' judgment. Well, he's right about that. Every company gets funded, the good ideas and the bad ideas. And investors have a hard time in the middle of this excitement distinguishing between the good and bad ideas, especially when their company heads are pumping everything up. And so that's also probably happening today. I'd say that's for sure. On a tour last month of a Texas data center, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman predicted people will make some dumb capital allocations. Yeah, based on stuff you say, I think. And there will be short-term ups and downs of overinvestment and underinvestment. But he added that overall, the arc that we have to plan over, we are confident that this technology will drive a new wave of unprecedented economic growth, along with scientific breakthroughs, improvements to quality of life, and new ways to express creativity. Keep in mind, this is from the guy who's got the leading AI company on the planet at the moment. So, grain of salt there. Awaiting the promise of more useful AI agents, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang acknowledged that in a NBC interview on Wednesday that OpenAI doesn't yet, right, so they have this deal with NVIDIA, but they don't have the money to pay for it yet. OpenAI doesn't yet have the money to buy its chips, but they're going to have to raise that money through revenue, and Sam is very good at that, which is growing exponentially along with equity or debt. Wang said he also believes a transition has happened as leading AI developers are moving from chatbots that operated basically at a loss because the models weren't useful enough to pay for to one in which the AI systems are capable of higher level reasoning. And is it reasoning? And no, they're just going through a bunch of potential things and coming up with the best answer. I guess you can call that reasoning, but that's not reasoning like humans do. Keep that in mind. It's doing research before it answers a question. It goes to the web and studies. Yeah, it doesn't have the capability to study other PDFs and websites. It can now use tools, generate information for you, and it creates responses that are really useful. It also does some hallucinations. All of them still do that. AI companies have spent more than a year pitching the transformative potential of AI agents. Yeah, they're still doing that. That can go beyond the chatbot's capability by being able to access a person's computer and do coding and other work tasks on their behalf. That's what Microsoft Copilot is all about. Basically, they're not taking over your computer, but they're digging into every little thing you do on it. So think about that. And that's all partially tied to AI. But as the initial hype fades, Forrester analysis Sudha Marishwari said businesses looking to buy these AI tools are taking a closer look at whether they're getting enough return on their investments. Ted's here in 1 second. Every bubble inevitably bursts, just what Brian just said. And in 2026, AI will lose its sheen, trading its tiara for a hard hat. That's a good way to put it. So that's the first article. And here's Ted. Glad you're here, brother. Now, can't hear you at all. Try it again when you get a chance. So your mouth moved. You look good. You gonna try it again?
Yeah, I didn't have the mic on.
There you go. There you go. So this is your problem. You're hanging around with an old guy and you're starting to absorb the same problems. How you doing?
All right. Ooh, there we go. Ooh, there we go. Manual focus.
Well, we get to see and hear you this week. This is a very good thing.
There we go.
Now, what camera are you using? It looks much better.
I am using the the usual camera, the new one.
Okay, not the one you were using last week.
Last week I was using the iPad, but
Right.
I didn't have my camera on.
That's right. Yeah. Was it a week before last you were using the one you said you didn't like the picture it gave or something, or was it that's why
Before
you
that,
did
that was
not?
with that was where all fours were in. Yeah, that was the that was the camera I was using last week.
Okay. So anyway, that was the first story, and we were talking about the AI bubble, which may or may not be happening. A lot of people seem to think it is, and as they said at the end, it's going to happen probably in 2026. And Brian has already said that there's always a limit, AI included. And that's why in the article I tied it back to .com, and everybody's comparing it to the .com bubble, which we all saw burst. And at that time, I was into my 15th year as a computer contractor, and when the bubble burst, a lot of us programmer contractor types lost their contracts. I hung on for another 2 years, but I lost mine too, and it took me 2 years before everything picked up again. So yeah, that bubble did hit us all at some point. Some of us lasted longer than others. That's all. All right, what are you eating this week?
A banana milkshake. I think I made it too thick.
Oh, okay. Well, last week you had bananas. Now you got banana milkshake. So you're
Yep.
slowly getting to at some point you're going to have a banana split. So, all right, I'm on to my second story. You got the stories, I assume.
Yep.
Okay. Now, this one is a really good article, and I think let me do this second one, and then I'll let you go in, because I think I'm going to try to play a little bit of the video. I can't play the whole thing because it's like 8 minutes long. But Apple has made a video that I think is hilarious. So I'm going to go into the second story. And I just said, another memory, crowd striking a worldwide blue screen of death. And it's 10/7 because last year was 10/7/2024 when all the Windows computers worldwide had that crash, and it didn't affect Apple laptops. And they've made, I think, a hilarious video about it. So let's go into Tech Radar and check this out. So Apple's cringy BSOD. He thinks it's cringy. I like it. It is funny. Apple's cringy BSOD, it chooses the wrong Windows target. He makes the point that they could have picked something else besides the blue screen of death to concentrate on, but you'll see what I mean. Funny, but is it fair? I think it is fair. Huh?
8 minutes is a while, though.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not going to play it all. I'm just going to play a little bit of it now. But I think I came into it wrong. Let me come out of this for a second. And I haven't edited yet. All right, I want to end. No, I'm not doing it right. I have to get out of this. Okay, now try again. I'm going to remove. Okay. Now I'm going to try to edit again. Good. So I want to say here. Okay, this is good, because when there's a video, I have to kind of edit it a different way. So I'm going to Window. No, I have to go to Chrome tab, and then go find this. Share. Okay. And I want this one. No, that's not the one I want. I want that one. Okay, I've only done this a couple of times, folks, so forgive me for not being good at it as yet. Trying to make it bigger. I'm not doing something right. Was that you?
Yeah, you just put on the screen address and everything went all haywire.
Yeah, wait, let me get out of this again. Yeah, it's me. All right, let's stop this screen. Okay, now it's you and me. Going back here. No, that's wrong. Okay, that's you and me. That's the one I want for you and me. But somehow I'm still getting it wrong. Okay. I don't usually have this much trouble. This is because I'm trying to do the one with the that has the video in it, but I guess I'm not going to be able to do it. So I guess I'll just do a normal share screen. Let's just do the window. Okay. So does it look funny to you, or does it look okay?
It looks okay.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go down to this one. Yeah. All right. I just said another memory, CrowdStrike and Aurora blue screen left. So let's click on Tech Radar, and I'll tell you about this. But they made a hilarious video, and I would highly recommend everybody take a look at this video. You'll see it as we go down. I won't play it though. But Apple's cringy BSOD ad chooses the wrong Windows target. I disagree with him. Funny, but is it fair? And this was from 3 days ago. I'm going to drop it into reading view so I can get rid of these ads. Okay. Apple's knucklehead business people, the underdogs, and they're hilarious to me. I had never heard of them. Have you heard of them, Ted? I
Underdog.
guess
Nope.
they've done a video or two in the past, but this is my first time seeing it. Are back in another lengthy and riotous look, and it is funny, at computing in the business world. This time with a recollection of one of Windows' darkest moments, CrowdStrike and the collapse of 8.5 million Windows PCs around the world. And the point is, it took down all the Windows PCs around the world, but not the Apples. The commercial titled BSOD and viewable today, October 7th, 2025, on YouTube, and it's out there for you to see, is equal parts clever and cringy. I found it extremely clever. It recounts today the underdog team attended ContainerCon and how most of the Windows PC failed, ostensibly on July 19th, 2024. Okay, so July 19th, with blue screens of death bringing the entire trade show to a halt, with the exception of Team Underdogs, who were running Macs, and that's the whole point. Apple never explicitly mentioned cybersecurity company CrowdStrike and how a bit of bad code, it's true, it's only a little bit of bad code that did this, uploaded by the company to its flagship security product Falcon, made its way to endpoints or Windows PCs around the globe. And as a programmer of 34 years, I can tell you it's easy to do something like that, and you can do it with one line of code. I've done it. I haven't taken down the world, though. But I do remember back in '86, I was working on a big project for AT&T across the entire country, and we had 18 of us subcontractors all having our little pieces, and most of it was live, so it was real time. Well, Mr. Big Mouth, me, somebody had brought down the system, and we were in testing, so it was okay. But when you brought down the system, you brought it down nationwide. But it was all in tests. So one of the guys did something and brought down the entire system, and a couple of minutes it was back up. And what did Mr. Big Mouth say? I said, well, I've never brought down the system. Don't you know, a minute later, I brought down the entire system with my big mouth. Now, I got it back in about a minute, but, it was like Murphy was waiting for me to say that, and bam, I took the system down nationwide. So I learned not to say stuff like, my point being that it is easy to do something like that. And I did on a test system worldwide. They did it on a worldwide real system. It was real. It was a real, albeit temporary disaster. Yeah, it was hours. Shipments were stalled, stock markets closed, banks became inaccessible, and even some healthcare providers could not serve patients. Yeah, and that was real serious. Ted, are you still there?
Yep.
Okay, just making sure. The incident revealed a hidden vulnerability across untold numbers of Windows PCs. Yeah, thousands of them around the world. The underdog. Now, if you guys go to this article and click on this video, it is hilarious. And I think it's 8 minutes long, but it's highly worth watching. So if you just go out on YouTube and look for BSOD, you'll probably pull it up yourself. But these guys are hilarious. This was a great video, I thought. He thought it was great and cringy. Not the Windows we know. It is a subject ripe for criticism and parody, and I think Apple could be forgiving for making BSOD the title and core focus of the video. I agree. After all, that did happen on that day. But is it representative of the Windows world that 1 billion people face every day? Not really. Yeah, this doesn't happen every day. That's true. That's his point. By most measures, incidences of blue screens of death have fallen significantly in recent years. Yeah, it used to be that would happen to all of us a couple of times a year at least. It doesn't happen hardly at all anymore. So it was very unusual. Thank you, Brian, as usual. Brian's as faithful as they come. Windows 10, which I used for almost a decade and still dip into on a couple of home computers, is robust and remarkably stable. I agree. Windows 10 was by far the most stable one they ever had until Windows 11. My wife uses it every day for her real estate business. She also uses me as her in-house IT support. Gee, what a surprise. I haven't seen a BSOD on either of her systems in ages. Yeah, Brian says the same as I said. He said BSOD used to be all the time. Yeah, if you go back to the early 2000s, it used to happen a lot. And we all kind of were used to it, but it got better with Windows 7, got a whole lot better with Windows 10. And I haven't seen it at all in Windows 11. And I've been on Windows 11 since the day it came out, but a year and a half ago or something, maybe 2 years ago. Based on this commercial, I'm not sure Apple is aware that Microsoft is in the process of changing the blue screen of death to the black screen of death, which I reported on months and months ago, an action that I think is intended to signal how rare it really is, which it is. In reality, the hue adjustment is all but meaningless. That's true. It doesn't even change the first letter of the initialism. That's true. It's still BSOD. I'm not arguing that Apple's best Macs are not inherently more stable, which I'm pretty sure they are, and perhaps secure than Windows. In all the decades I've used Macs, there was no equivalent for the BSOD. I've never heard anybody having that kind of problem. Plus, there is the fact that Apple's platform was virtually impervious to viruses. That's no longer true, but still good. If you owned the Mac, you didn't really run antivirus software. If you owned the Windows PC, you were in a mad scramble to get the security software installed before connecting to the internet. That's very true. I still remember attacks like the I love you bug. I don't remember that. And others infiltrating the system as soon as you connected to the World Wide Web.
That was in the 2010s, I think.
Was it okay? So Ted remembers it. The old guy doesn't
They
remember.
made a movie about it.
Okay, I didn't see it. Modern Windows, though, is infinitely more secure. Even without security software, it has its own Defender system, which is all I use, and I never have a problem. Which, if you keep it up to date, is extremely effective. Yeah, and every once in a while, it'll tell you that it runs and doesn't find any problems. Some better targets. So his point is Apple could have made a better video hitting other pieces of Windows, and here's where he goes to that. If, though, Apple had wanted to more effectively attack Microsoft and Windows, there are softer targets than the BSOD. Let's start with the most obvious. Microsoft is in the process of enforcing Windows 10 end of life. Oh boy, aren't they? They're pushing it hard. Mostly so it can get everyone to install Windows 11. The problem, and this is something I have not seen Apple do with the majority of Mac OS updates, is that Windows 11 is not universally supported by some Windows 10 systems. That's true. While perhaps almost a decade old, are completely functional. Yeah, you might have to buy a new computer because some of the Windows 10 are not even compatible with the Windows 11. The primary reason they weren't built with TPM 2.0 support, a Windows 11 security requirement. I guess lucked out because I had bought this computer that I'm on right now maybe 2-3 months before Windows 11 came out. So the day it came out, I was ready for it and I installed it. Never had a problem. Now Microsoft is forcing the issue with the end of life date fast approaching this month. For some people, that means if they want to stay secure and ensure third-party hardware still works with their computer, they'll likely need to buy a new system that supports Windows 11. That's true. That's true for some people. And they'll tell you if yours is not compatible. Mine was, of course, right off the bat. It's a bad look on Microsoft, it sure is. But Apple didn't go after it for that. Instead, it made a comedy about one day in tech history, and in some ways, inadvertently confirmed the popularity of Windows in the work. Well, that's true. The reason it happened so big because Windows is by far the most popular laptop around the world, in businesses at least. After all, 99% of the systems at ContainerCon and even the billboards along the way in a blink and you missed it BSOD moment all run Windows, and that is true. So they kind of showed how popular it is. Apple could have gone after Microsoft first effort to push Copilot in. They've been trying to force that down everybody's throat. Or even Edge on Windows users. Or its occasional insistence on finding places to insert ads into the system, or for its habit of taking years to fix some niggling bug. That's true. These are all fair criticisms. So he's saying they should have picked something else other than, I think they did a great job here. So yeah, I laughed a little and maybe enjoyed the music, but Apple mostly misses the mark with this latest S. I disagree. I think it's hilarious. It's worth watching. So if you guys get a chance, go do a quick search on the video on YouTube, Blue Screen of Death, and I highly recommend seeing it simply because I think it's hilarious. So just wanted you guys to know that. So Ted, next one is going to be for you, unless anybody else. Okay, nothing else in the comments. So, next story is about the OnePlus 15. You want to take this one, Ted? Okay, I said,
14?
huh?
What happened to the 14?
Oh, the Chinese very superstitious about the number 14. They always avoid the number 14.
I thought they avoided the number 4.
No, 14 is more so, as far as I know.
More so they avoided. They don't like the 4s at all. Any signs of 4?
I've never heard anything about 24 or 34, but I know they, and you might be right, but I know they avoid 14.
Because 4, apparently in their language, it sounds too similar to the word death in their language. So,
see, you said too similar to the word death. What does death end with? TH. Most languages around the world have no TH. And you will find that most people who do not speak English have trouble saying TH because it's not in their language. That TH sound, English are the only people in the world who put that together. So I thought it was interesting that you used death, which ends in a TH. But I don't think there's another language on earth that has TH in it besides English. So they almost always, and I've seen people that have lived here for years since they were little kids and still had trouble saying truth. That they say truth or truth, but saying naturally truth is very hard for most people to say that weren't born English speaking. So I just always found that interesting. So anyway, they jumped from the 13 to the 15. I showed that 13 was my primary phone that I happened to take to work today. And I said I still have the OnePlus 12. So if I end up getting the OnePlus 15, I'll probably trade in my OnePlus 12 so I can compare it with the 13. So I said, the not yet revealed OnePlus 15, better than the OnePlus 13, and that's what Phone Arena's article is about. So whenever you're ready, Ted.
Okay, yeah, I'm just looking at in the Chinese language, especially in Cantonese, the pronunciation of 4 sounds similar to death. Yeah, okay. The numbers 14 and 24 are especially ominous.
I didn't know about the 24.
The former sounds similar to inevitable demise in their language, and the latter sounds like susceptible to death.
Okay, so you were right.
Okay, so I guess we won't be expecting a OnePlus 24 either.
Exactly. We'll be going to the 25.
All right, so the OnePlus 15 is right around the corner, and I'm considering the OnePlus 13 for my new phone.
Now, I like most everybody else, I love my OnePlus 13, so you should know that. And I love my OnePlus 12. The 13 is better. And a lot of people picked the 13 as the phone of the year, as did I. So.
Okay, you selling that 13?
No, I'm probably going to trade in my 12 for the 15 and keep the 13. I'll have right now I have the 12 and 13. So then I expect to have the 13 and 15.
Okay.
assuming they give me a decent amount for the 12, which I hope they do.
Mhm. So the OnePlus 15 is right around the corner. This latest flagship smartphone shapes up to be a real powerhouse and a threat to all the big boys. Phone will feature a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 silicone. I think that's what, a 3 nanometer chip.
I believe so.
A fast and bright screen and some tweaks to the camera system, plus one of the largest batteries in the industry. How does it compare to the previous model, which is oddly 2 numbers behind? And are there any reasons to upgrade if you already have the OnePlus 13? Let's see. So the main differences we're going to have is the new camera housing design, which is similar to a Pixel 10 Pro Fold. 6.7 AMOLED screen, which is actually smaller than the OnePlus 13, which has 0.82.
Yep.
We have a more variable LTPO panel that goes up to from 1 to 165 gigahertz.
Right.
And then the triple camera, we still have a triple camera 50 megapixel camera system. They'll have
And keep in mind, this Elite Gen 5, at the point that it comes out, it will be the only phone with the newest Snapdragon until Samsung comes out with theirs. So they'll be ahead of everybody else.
No, I think the Xiaomi phone, Xiaomi 17 Pro has it.
Has it already?
Yeah.
Well, maybe it'll probably be the only one out in America at that point, then, in the U.S.
Okay. In the US, yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That's big. 7,300 milliamp hour battery, 120 watts wired fast charging. At this point, OnePlus is just competing with themselves.
Exactly.
Better IP69 water ingress protection, ultrasonic fingerprint display sensor. We're missing some specs. Like, does it still keep the IR blaster? Come on, guys.
Well, there's more down as we go down.
So OnePlus 15 popped up in some leaked marketing materials. So we have a good idea how the new phone will look and what the changes. I wish we could show you the picture of it, but oh well, guys. The dimensions are still a mystery, but there's one post.
Wait, time out. I think I can show you a picture of it. Let me drop it out of Reader View just for a second. But yeah, there are some renders out there. There you go. This is how it looked compared to the 13. Okay. So a lot of people are liking that it's gone away from the round, big camera array to this. To me, it looks more Apple-like.
It does look more Apple-like.
Yeah, they're saying more Pixel-like. But either way, all right. I'm going back into
the camera bump looks Pixel-like, but the edges, it looks kind of. The edges, the frame of the phone looks much like Apple.
Yeah, I'm going to go back down. I wanted you guys to see the picture because there's lots of them out there. Okay, go ahead.
The dimensions are still a mystery, but one post on Weibo claiming the phone will be 8.1 millimeters thick and between 211 and 215 grams. OnePlus 15 is expected to use a new type of aerospace grade nano ceramic metal mid-frame, claimed to be stronger than titanium, stainless steel, and aluminum. But there's no other sources corroborating this information. Okay. The new model will feature the IP69 dust and water rating as its predecessor. Okay, look at that. Hold on.
Yes.
Something is missing.
It looks nice.
Is the notification slider on the other side?
No, you'll read about that too. They're changing it to be more like the iPhone button. You'll see as we go along. Yeah, people are not going to like that.
No.
You'll see it.
Okay. Let's see, scrolling down. I like the color though.
Yeah, the Samsung. This is the one that they came up with years ago, and they're kind of bringing it back. Okay.
Color-wise, you can see one of the official colors of the OnePlus 15 in the leaked marketing materials. It's a most interesting one. It's called Sandstorm. There are 3 more hues, by the way: purple, titanium, and black. Let's see display differences. The display of the OnePlus 15 will most likely feature a couple of upgrades compared to its predecessor. For starters, the diagonal is slightly smaller at 6.78 inches, and the refresh rate can go up to 165 hertz. Rumor has it that it will be a Super AMOLED panel made by BOE using X3 material. I always thought it was Samsung that had the patents on, Super AMOLED.
BOE has become like the second to Samsung only, but a lot of people are using BOE, including Apple.
Capable of shining with 1800 nits of typical brightness and featuring 1.5K resolution. For comparison, the OnePlus 13 comes equipped with a 6.82-inch LTPO panel with 120 hertz refresh rate, 120 hertz, and a resolution of 1440 and 3168 pixels. Brightness should not at all be different in our display test. The OnePlus 13 has 2,326 nits at 20% APL, which is one of the best results we've ever had. So we're optimistic about the OnePlus 15. Stay tuned for the display results. Display tests.
Yeah.
Snapdragon Elite Gen 5. Okay. That's the layout that Apple done popularized. Good job. Plus that layer of information. It's going to be the world's fastest mobile CPU, apparently. World's first hardware APU codec, Dragon Fusion Video with the Snapdragon Audio Sense, 4 times larger dynamic range. Okay. Up to 37% NPU performance improvements, up to 220 parsecs. Thanks for the official.
I lost where you are at this point.
I was reading the flat lay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Picture board.
All right, so we're good.
Yeah, it is a 3rd gen Orion CPU. Okay. Thanks to the official post by OnePlus India, we have information about the silicon inside the OnePlus 13, and it's not the 8 Elite 2. Qualcomm made another expected name change, another upcoming chip that is called the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. If you think it's confusing, you're not alone.
It is confusing because they skipped ahead again,
Qualcomm made a detailed post explaining the naming scheme to clear the confusion, but a long story short, we're not back on track with the Gen labels, but the Elite will remain as well because Qualcomm says its chips are elite now. OnePlus 13 features the first iteration of the Snapdragon Elite Silicon, which is a benchmark for Android phones. So it'll be interesting to see the new Qualcomm chip next to its predecessor.
Yeah.
You can we got RAM. RAM starts at 12 gigabytes and goes all the way up to 16 gigabytes on the 15. I didn't know you can get up to 24.
I didn't either until I saw this either.
13, wow. And then we got, US 4.1 storage. Cool.
Yep.
OnePlus offers a wide range of RAM and storage configurations, but they vary from region to region. Last year, there was even a 24 gigabyte RAM version of the phone. The OnePlus 15 will most likely mimic the more conservative storage option, starting with 12 gigabytes of RAM, coupled with either 256 or 512 gigabytes. There will be a 16 gigabyte version of the same 2 storage options, but an offering of one additional 1 terabyte version for the storage hungry are out there. OnePlus 15 will launch running Oxygen OS 16 based on Android 16 and will expect the same 4-year software support cycle on the previous 2 generations.
So that's the OnePlus, Samsung, and Google have them because they're still offering 7 years, and OnePlus is still only offering 4.
I don't know anyone who holds onto their phone for 7 years, but okay, yay.
Exactly. I agree. Now, the camera's a bit interesting, so go ahead. Now, keep in mind, the OnePlus 12 camera was really good, better than people thought. And people loved the OnePlus 13, including myself. And a lot of times the pictures come out as good or even better than both Samsung and Google and Apple, but not always. But anyway, they've been that good. But that was all with Hasselblad. Well, no more Hasselblad. Now they're doing it on their own. So go ahead when you're ready. Just wanted to get that out.
Okay, so
The redesigned cameras.
The redesigned camera, thank you. Of the OnePlus 15 seem to be housing cameras that are not that different from those inside of the OnePlus 13. At least according to the latest info, we've have more or less of the same Sony LYT or Light 700, the 50 megabyte sensor under the lens with a slightly different aperture of f1.8. Ultra wide camera looks exactly the same on paper. It's another 50 megabit sensor, focal length of 15 millimeters, and the aperture is f2. There's no information about the sensor size, but judging from one of the OnePlus 13, we'll most likely get a 1.2 1 over 2.75 inch Samsung GN5. The telephoto duties are given to yet another 50 megapixel sensor, possibly the same JN5, under a lens with an optical zoom of 3.5. We have no information on whether or not it's a periscope system, but we think it might be.
So there's the head-to-head.
Yeah.
You're looking it up?
No.
Oh, okay.
Writing it down.
So I stop here, or should I go down to the next paragraph?
You can get into the next paragraph.
Okay. You good? The camera score.
Let's see. Camera score on the OnePlus 13 is 145 out of 158, which is quite good, with 28 out of the 29 in the zoom part of the test. We're optimistic about the camera performance on the upcoming OnePlus 15, but we have to test it and give you a camera score with some real life side-by-side samples. Battery life and charging. Battery race is on, and it seems that the silicon carbon tech is winning at the moment. The OnePlus 13 brought the Glacier battery, the company's own version of the tech, to the States with the impressive 6,000 milliamp hour capacity. Well, guess what? OnePlus 15 will most likely topple that, as we expect a massive 7,300 battery inside this future stamina champion.
Yep.
Look at that. Oof. So big.
Yeah. A lot of people should like that, I would think.
OnePlus is at the forefront when it comes to charging, up there with Xiaomi, Oppo, and Vivo, and Honor. The speeds that the company offers are pushing 100 watts. The OnePlus 15 is expected to support up to 120 watts of wired charging power, but it might be restricted in the US or in Europe due to regulations. OnePlus supports 100 watt wired, and both phones support up to 50 watts wireless fast charging, but you'll need a proprietary wireless charger to get up to those speeds.
Yeah, I have a 45 watt wireless, but I don't have a 50 as yet. So here's the rest of your specs comparison.
Yep. Who loves specs? Actually, it's the same specs. It's just all put together.
Yeah, the whole thing. So here's your summary.
OnePlus 15 is shaping up to be a real beast. The real question here is, however, is there enough reason to upgrade if you already have the OnePlus 13? There's a new and faster chipset on board of the latest flagship and a bigger battery and a faster charging. Camera system is pretty similar, and the display might be faster and brighter. But whether or not these upgrades are superficial or bring some, scroll up a bit, or bring some new altogether, we still don't know. Stay tuned for a test and a final verdict.
So, is it worth going from the OnePlus 13 to the 115? For me, as a tech reviewer, it is, but a lot of that's because I do have a OnePlus 12 to trade in. If I didn't, would I move up? I'm not sure. Probably I would. But for the average person, I'm going to guess it may not be worth the difference, but we won't know for sure until they're out. Now, the OnePlus 15, the Chinese version, like last year, everybody's expecting that to be out in China this month. Now, last year it came out in China in, I think this month or the very beginning of November, but then we had to wait until January for the US version. And it was well worth the wait. But they're saying because everything's accelerated this year, a lot of people are saying the US version might be here sometime in November. and we won't have to wait till January. So we'll have to wait and see. So anyway, I'm kind of excited for it because I have the OnePlus 13, and like most of the reviewers, to me, that was one of the greatest phones in the world at the time. So since now they won't have a contract with Hasselblad anymore, and OnePlus will be using their own in-house camera stuff, people are interested to see that. But to me, it looks a lot like an Apple phone. But a lot of people think it looks like a Pixel phone. Not to me. It looks much more like an iPhone. So we'll see if it does come out this month in China and how soon it comes out, if it does indeed come out in November. If it does come out in November, I may have to wait a while before I can afford it, but hopefully it'll give me a nice trade of my OnePlus 12. So that's my best hope at the moment. So, all right, next article. I just found this on CNET, and I just thought it was a nice, sensible article. So I just said, sensible advice, how to combine phone etiquette and phone safety. So I found this on CNET. 4 reasons why your phone shouldn't be face up on the table. If you look at your phone all day long, you might forget to pay attention to your friends and family. That's why I said etiquette. And it was written by Jason Chung, and this is all the way from August, but I just thought it was a really interesting article, and of course, that would apply to all of us. So let's drop it into reader view. Without a smartphone, it would be almost impossible for me to stay in touch with certain people. Phones have changed how I interact with friends, everybody, that's true, keeping me connected in ways that were once unimaginable. But then there's the flip side. I'll be having dinner with friends only for the conversation to pause or stop entirely as everyone picks up their phones to check their notifications. And I know Eleanor and I are guilty of that because we go out to dinner every Saturday, and at some point, both of us are both looking at our phones. So that is true. This kind of subtle disconnect, often called phubbing, I had never heard that phrase before, happens more than we realize. Even when it's unintentional, it can leave the folks who aren't using their phones feeling invisible. That's probably very true. If you want to be more present during hangouts or dinners, something as simple as leaving your phone face down can help you stay focused on the people right in front of you. I've been guilty of paying more attention to my screen than my companion, and I felt bad about it afterward. So I've gotten so I don't really not feel bad about it because, Elmer's doing it too. So it kind of evens out to me. There's nothing wrong with replying to an urgent Slack message or pulling up a funny TikTok to share. Yeah, she's always sharing TikToks with me anyway. But I know I probably spend too much time staring at screens. A lot of the time is unhealthy doom scrolling. These days, when I'm not using my phone, I try to be more deliberate about keeping it out of sight and out of mind. I never do that. If I do need to keep my phone at hand, I nearly always have it face down. Got to give him credit for that. It can protect your phone screen. I have a few reasons for making sure my phone screen is turned away. The first one is practical. When my phone isn't in my pocket, it's probably sitting on a desk or table, which means it's probably not far from a glass of water or a mug of coffee. As a somewhat clumsy person, I've spilled beverages on my phone plenty of times. I haven't. I think I've ever done it only once in like 30 years. And even though most modern phones are water resistant, why take chances? With my screen hidden, I can keep the most important part of my phone protected from splashes and other mishaps, which makes sense. For extra protection, I have a phone case with raised edges. I think we all do, or those of us that use phone cases. This helps prevent the screen from coming in direct contact with crumbs and debris that might be left on the table. My colleague, David Carnoy, told me about an incident where he was charging his phone on his kitchen counter with the screen face up. This I never heard of, but I guess it can happen. Someone dropped a mug on top of it and cracked the screen. Unfortunately, he didn't have a screen protector on this device. He knows better now. And that's what I would call a freak accident, but I guess it could happen. It could help save your phone battery. Another good reason to keep my phone face down is that it won't turn on each time I get a notification. That means I can save a little bit of battery charge. Now, that may not come up much for the average person, but for a guy like this, it probably would make a difference because it's his living. A single notification won't mean the difference between my phone lasting the whole day or dying in the afternoon, but notifications can add up, especially if I've enabled them across all of my apps. If I'm in a lot of group chats, my screen might end up turning on dozens of times throughout the day, and that's on the low side. Many teenagers have hundreds of notifications a day. That makes sense. It also shows that you pay attention. Keeping my phone face down is also a good rule of social etiquette. If I'm hanging out with someone, I keep my screen hidden from view as a subtle way of showing that I won't be distracted by it. I don't want incoming notifications to light up my screen every few seconds, especially if I'm in a bar or a dimly lit setting. And yeah, I've been in that situation where, let's say you're at a play or something, and it's kind of dark, and every time it lights up, people around you are going to see it, and then you feel like, okay, they're going to start watching me. I better stop that. So I know that feeling. I want to keep my eyes on the person I'm talking to. Eye contact is one of the most powerful forms of human connection. Pardon me. Neuroscience research indicates that when two people make direct eye contact, their brain activity begins to synchronize, supporting more effective communication and increasing empathy. This synchrony can be disrupted when attention shifts to a phone even briefly, says Michelle Davis, clinical psychologist at Headspace. When I'm with people I've chosen to spend time with, I want to be fully present with them. A sudden notification will tempt me to glance at, or worse, pick up my phone in the middle of a conversation. It minimizes your phone's presence. I also have a more personal reason for keeping my phone face down, and I suspect that other people have had the same thought. My phone takes up too much space in my life. I mean that quite literally. My phone is bigger than it needs to be. That's been especially true since I upgraded from my iPhone mini to a normal size phone. Yeah, it's going to make a big difference, all right. Yes, I got a much needed boost in battery life, but I also got a screen with more pixels to lure me into the next news headline or auto-playing Instagram reel. A small smartphone isn't something that really exists anymore. My phone is bigger and better at grabbing my attention. It competes against my friends and family, books and movies, the entire world outside of its 6-inch screen. It often wins. But there's still one small thing I can do to minimize its presence. I can keep the screen turned away from me whenever possible. It can sometimes feel like there's no escaping from my phone. Well, you are a professional. Whether that ever changes or phone evolves into some new form factor, I can't say. I can't control everything about my phone, but I can control whether the screen stares at me when I'm not staring at it. So, just thought it was an interesting article, and he's right about a lot of it. And of course, it's an article that would apply to all of us, no matter what phone we have.
Mm-hmm.
So, nothing else new in the comments. All right, we've got the another interesting article from Android Central. You want to take this one, Ted?
Yeah.
Okay, I just said evenly apportioned AI, good for all, and I asked it as a question, but he thinks it is. So let's go into Android Central, and whenever you're ready, sir.
This is the best thing about ever-evolving wave of AI on our phones by Andrew Milchik.
No, I'm Andrew Myrick.
Oh,
I only know that because I've been following Android Central for years and years, and he's been around a long time. Okay, I'm dropping it into reader view. Okay.
Okay. As we bow towards a new age in mobile software, one that eventually aims to be essentially an agent that does everything for us, It's crazy to think about how we've come in such a short time. Yeah. Whew. More and more people are turning to ChatGPT for better or worse, while Google is attempting to wedge Gemini into every conceivable space possible.
That's true.
Not to mention that we're getting more and more AI powered features with every new flagship phone release. That said, I realized that when it comes to eventually using AI on my various smartphones, Chromebooks, gaming handles, and so on, at the end of the day, everyone's AI experience is the same. I should probably modify that to say everyone's AI experience can be the same. No matter how you try to phrase it, the general idea remains the same. As someone with an iPhone 17 Pro, Pixel 10 Pro Fold, or a Samsung Galaxy A26 can all do the same things with AI. And no, I'm not talking about the features that Apple, Google, and Samsung try to sell you on in various ads and commercials. That's cool and all, but the commonality between all phones that cost almost $2,000 and one that's less than $200 is that they can all download the same AI apps. Currently, the most prominent players are Gemini, ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, Perplexity, Grok, and DeepSeek. All of those apps and many more are available on either platform, ensuring that you'll always have access to your own conversations and creations. Yes, there might be times when the iOS version of ChatGPT gets something first, but the same can certainly be true for Gemini on Android. At the time of writing, ChatGPT holds the top spot in the Play Store, and the next AI chatbot that doesn't appear until Microsoft Copilot in the 10th place. Surprisingly, the opposite is true on the Apple App Store, where Gemini is a current top free app. That's interesting. Followed
It
by
is, isn't it?
followed by ChatGPT in second and DeepSeek in fifth. It just goes to show that Google's marketing is paying off, although there's definitely an argument to be made about iPhones being a better Google phone than Android.
That's true. Who would have known?
Apple's playing catch up. Of course, there's another side to the coin here, and one that reopens the age old iOS versus Android debate. Simply put, Siri is awful and can't hold a candle to Gemini, ChatGPT, or even DeepSeek. Apple is so far behind the eight ball here that it's partnered with OpenAI and Google when introducing Apple Intelligence last year. Recently, Mark Gurman of Bloomberg reports that Apple is planning to launch its own artificial intelligence-powered web search tool next year, stepping up competition with OpenAI and Perplexity AI Inc. Based on the reports, this sounds like it will be an Apple-branded version of Gemini. As Gurman says, the companies reached a formal agreement to evaluate and test a Google-developed AI model to help power the voice assistant. However, Apple isn't stopping there, as this AI-powered search will also be implemented in Siri. But instead of trying to figure out how the score of the game or find the name of a brand, it said that Siri will finally be able to tap into personal data and on-screen content to better fulfill queries. By pulling resources from other departments and refocusing its efforts, Apple could deliver this enormous overhaul as soon as March 2026 with iOS 26.4. Even so, while we wait for this big AI overhaul, you can still download apps like Gemini, ChatGPT, Copilot, or Perplexity, and perform many AI-related tasks we hope to see from Apple and Siri. Now, everyone else is widening the gap. So, meanwhile, Google has just announced its new Gemini models, along with the complete overhaul and revamp of the Google Home app. Additionally, Gemini will be available on existing smart speakers and Nest Hubs, a feature we've been eagerly awaiting. At the same time, OpenAI recently announced instant checkout in ChatGPT, allowing users to make purchases using AI. It also introduced ChatGPT Pulse, which deliver personalized updates based on your chats, feedback, and connected apps like your calendar. Why does any of that matter? Because all of those new features from Google and OpenAI will soon be available on any phone if they aren't already. So, sure, needing to download an app isn't as seamless as just having it integrated at the OS level, but does it really matter given the abundance of options at our disposal, especially when you can just pick the app that works best for you in any particular instance? To answer my own question, no, it doesn't really matter, at least for now. Andrew Mark is a senior editor at Android Central. Okay. There's everything technology, tablets, smartphones, and everything between. That's it. Hey, George, where'd you go? Not seeing you, George. George, we can't hear you. Is it me? I'm only seeing myself. I'm in the show. Oh, no, I'm out. Yeah. Friday Night Tech Talk is now hosted by TED Talks or TED Talks Tech or Taking Out with Ted or Contrarian Tech. I don't know the name yet, but.
Can you see it?
Oh, you were there. You were there and you went away. Do what you did before. There we go.
Okay. I clicked the stage button. Okay. All right, we're good to go. All right, I've got one more, and that's it. So, this one is a walk down memory lane. I said Android apps we loved, and I just happened to find this on Android Authority. So, kind of jogging on memory. The unsung heroes of Android, remembering 8 legendary apps we've lost, gone but not forgotten. These apps shaped Android into what it is today. And this is from the first, but I thought it was a really good article. And it was by Tusha Mehta. And so I guess that's him. So let's drop this in. I guess he's been a while based on what he's saying about these apps. He's been around quite a while doing this stuff. So the Android we know today has a rich legacy, built on a foundation of apps that have endowed with its powers of customization and extended its utility beyond what was natively offered. Over the last decade, many of these services have either become obsolete or been integrated into core features in Android, but they continue to remain in our hearts. Today, we're recounting legendary apps that helped shape Android and made it more meaningful than the bare-bones stock version of yesteryears. Here are my top picks for Android apps that had a fundamental, almost irreplaceable role on Android phones in the past. Most of these apps no longer exist, haven't been updated in a while, or have undergone radical changes for the worse in recent years, but their contributions remain unmatched. Before we begin, please let us know which ones you have used and missed the most. So, which of these legendary apps is or was your favorite? Inbox.
Inbox. Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah, a lot of people loved it. I liked it, but there were people who were just absolutely crazy about it from the day it came out. I remember that. So, Inbox to me was one of the most iconic apps Google ever made. In case you never got around to using it, it was a Gmail alternative with superior sorting features and better looks. I found it to be designed in a more palatable way, somewhat futuristic for the time, than the original Gmail app, and its use of cheerful and electrifying shades of blue made it feel more engaging. Of course, clearing the inbox like a clean slate and seeing the toony sunshine through was one of the biggest highlights of the day for many users, including my colleague Mitya Rutnick and me. I'm guessing they're probably not in America, but I'm not sure. Inbox was also the testing ground for features, that was very true, that we see on Gmail today, including the swipe to snooze or archive feature and the ability to view reminders and tasks directly from the email app. Yeah, I remember they used to try everything on Inbox before they put it on Gmail. Of course, as I progressed through my career and my overloaded PR pitches fluffed up my email inbox, I found it increasingly difficult to stay on top of every email and went back to using Gmail so I could mark all emails as read. That's true. With a single click by skimming through the subject lines and scanning for familiar names. Google also gave up on the app in 2019, as it does with many products that spark initial excitement. Yeah, as soon as people like it, Google is going to kill it. You can count on it. But I wish it had invested more effort into evolving inbox over time. Yeah, people absolutely loved it. I remember. I guess you did too, Ted?
It was all right. It was all
Oh,
right.
okay.
It was free. I viewed it as being free.
Okay.
I like the
Here's
fact
one.
that you could upload your own music to it. That was
Yeah.
fun.
Here's one I used a lot, Google Play Music.
But
Back in
inbox,
the early
man.
2010s, Google Play Music was one of the apps I spent the most time using. What inspired that wasn't truly free will, but the lack of any prominent music streaming apps, back in 2010, early 2010s, or even the non-existence prevalence of streaming in the age of expensive and battery-hungry 3G. Yeah, that's true. It was also backed by the fact that Google placed Play Music as the default music player for Android devices, and I, as a Nexus 4 user back in the day, relied on it hugely. More to like about Play Music was its simplistic interface. Yeah, it was simple to use. That sorted music based on genres, artists, albums, and individual tracks. Of course, a lot of this might have felt unruly if you, like me, had been torrenting music instead of actually buying it. I didn't, which I no longer recommend, not for ethical reasons, but because torrents are increasingly unreliable. But if you could spend a few hours filling up the track information correctly and adding album art, your local music files appeared far more appealing, mainly because Play Music hugely emphasized graphics. Yeah, I almost forgot that you could add album art to it, which I did a few times. Here's one I think we all tried: Swipe Keyboard. You,
Yeah.
Ted?
Yep.
Yeah, now we're spoiled because it's kind of built in, but you'll see that. Typing by gliding your finger over letter combinations is pretty standard and largely taken for granted. But more than a decade and a half ago, it was fairly novel, exciting, and surprisingly more efficient than it is today. Swipe was the OG swipe texting experience even before it was integrated into the official Google keyboard. Yeah, and now I use it in Google Keyboard, which is what it was called before it evolved to Gboard. That's true. I was a proud early adopter of Swipe and used it on the Nokia N8 running the Symbian operating system. That's going back a ways. Before I used it on Android. Besides allowing me to type faster, it even held the Guinness World Record for the fastest typing. Makes sense. Swipe made it easier to type more efficiently on smaller phone screens. That's true. Minuscule by today's standards back in the day, instead of twiddling my thumbs to reach the right character. It was like the T9 equivalent for touchscreens, and I eventually developed a knack for typing while not having to stare at the screen constantly. And then even today, even on Gboard, if I know I'm going to have to type a lot, I just use the swipe, and it's still faster than typing. I use the functionality on Gboard to date, me too, though I feel that the convolution of personal vocabulary data has made it far less accurate at predicting the right word. Maybe so. I haven't found that, but like I said, I don't do it every day. Still, typing by tapping individual characters feels like an exercise full of friction, and I'm glad I choose to swipe that warrior way. It was discontinued in 2018, because now it's included. Now, Super Sue, did you
Oh
root
yeah,
much?
you rooted your phone. Yeah.
See, I never in my life rooted my phone, so I have no experience with this one, but I'm glad you do.
It was mandatory. Yeah. You needed
Yeah.
something to control user access once you rooted your phone.
Yep. Back in the day, rooting your Android phone was useful for more than maxing your aura, though it certainly fulfilled that purpose.
What?
Maxing your aura.
What's that?
No? I don't know. I thought you'd know. Rooting allowed prosumers to install apps that would enhance their device's performance, maximize battery life, and even enable extensive customization. Yeah, well, that was a big deal, especially when Android lacked those features inherently. I remember when I told Mike and Will that I never rooted. They couldn't believe I never rooted, but I never did.
Yeah, programmer. I'll show you on all the features.
Exactly. But see, keep in mind, I was a programmer for years, mainly on mainframes. And then when I started getting on PCs, I was doing Java and C++ and so, but I never had a reason to root my phone, so I never did. And I was,
There were reasons. I mean, there were
and,
reasons.
and I was chicken also, I got to tell you that. Okay, SuperSue was the app that I largely relied on to root my Nexus 4 and subsequently the OnePlus 1 and 2. Its ease of use, which involved just installing a package from the custom recovery and support for virtually any popular Android phone, made it immensely popular. Since I experimented with custom ROMs extensively, which needed supplementing from apps like Greenify. Did you use Greenify? Rooting became a vital. No?
I think Greenify was to Greenify. I think it was one that killed background apps or put them to sleep.
Well, I said it needed supplementing, so that makes sense. Okay. Over time, platforms such as Magix have replaced SuperSue due to its extensive library of extensions. So I guess people still do rooting, I guess, following the latter sunset in 2018. However, it left a lasting imprint on my heart, and I'm sure it did for other Android lovers. And here's the other one, Titanium Backup. Did you use that too?
Yeah, that was also a mandatory one if you're rooting. The best backup for a smartphone.
Like SuperSue, Titanium Backup was another vital tool for anyone chronically dabbling with custom ROMs. As the name suggests, it allowed you to take a backup of your phone, store it in a single compressed package, and then restore the backup. What is even more special is that Titanium Backup allowed restoring data from apps and games, which remains a challenge even in modern-day Android devices. That was truly a lifesaver for me in times when the only way to back up data from chat apps such as WhatsApp, I didn't know it existed with WhatsApp, was to copy text log files and store them on a micro SD card or transfer them to a PC. That sounds like a real pain. Beyond its basic backup and restore functions, Titanium Backup could also scan for newly installed apps or detect if they were missing app data. So that's very useful. I could see that. It could then restore this data without an extensive set of steps, that's awesome, which is what made Titanium Backup an excellent aid for crusaders like me. Eventually, as micro SD cards became rare, the developer also added support for Google Drive Backup. Smart move. Unfortunately, its popularity fizzled as custom ROMs became less rampant and native tools in Android matured to acceptable levels. That's true. While it's still available for downloading on the Play Store, I'm surprised, Titanium Backup hasn't been updated in several years, which is why we can't recommend it now. MX Player. This one I use to this day occasionally. I still have it on my phones.
Which one do I use? Do I use it?
Yeah, MX Player is probably the most popular app on this list. Yeah, I've been downloading it on my phones for years, and for good reasons. In an era where traditional media players on Android felt clunky and unusable, MX Player provided a fluid and intuitive interface for watching video files stored locally. Yeah, it was extremely easy to use compared to others. It can be compared to the VLC media player, not just for its utility, but also for its swipe gestures for brightness and volume, which video streaming apps, including Netflix, have now adopted. Imagine having that functionality over a decade ago. Another feature that made MX Player extensively popular was customization options for captions, where you could change font size, style, or even color. It was also among the earliest video players on Android to support hardware-based encoding, which allows larger media files to play without any jitters. That's probably why I started using it, is my guess, because I was using big music files, video files. I use MX Player extensively for watching downloaded video content during subway rides before the availability of cheap or high-speed mobile data. But to my disappointment and that of other users, MX Player's popularity declined as online streaming surged. That makes sense. Amazon subsequently acquired it. I didn't know that. And now it operates it as a separate platform to run mini, low production cost TV series, effectively replacing the glorious app with another platform for half-hearted video slop. You can still use it to play local files, which I still do occasionally, though be prepared to deal with an onslaught of too many ads. Yes, they have thrown a lot of ads in these days. I can attest to that.
Yeah, I don't
Now,
use that anymore, but yeah, that was a popular one. I used
Yeah.
to use it heavily, but then yeah, they got bought out. Then they started doing ads, so I use a different one now.
Yeah, I didn't know Amazon owned them.
It was Amazon?
Hmm. That's really simple. You go back up and check. Yeah, Amazon subsequently acquired it. Yep. So ES File Explorer, you use that? I remember I used that a little bit. Did you?
Yes, yeah. No, I was talking about ES File Explorer.
Oh, okay. Oh no, it was
Not-
Amazon
not-
that took MX Player. We were confused. We were
Yeah.
crisscrossing things. Okay, long before Google launched Files as Android's default file browser, and they did a great job with that, I think. Third-party Android manufacturers such as Samsung used to offer their own solution, but for stock Android, which did not come with a file manager, ES File Explorer was the one best file explorers to fill the gap. As a Nexus user who also used early Motorola G-series phones, it's probably what made me start using it. I find myself relying solely on ES File Explorer, even though there were and still are some useful alternatives. I was fond of the ES File Explorer's simplistic interface, which could be further customized with different views. The Explorer also offered excellent options to sort files and view them in a library format based on file type, similar to the current Files app on Android. Besides these options, ES File Explorer also allowed a convenient recycle bin feature. But what I liked the most was the ability to hide files, didn't know that, such as images from the gallery simply by changing the name of a particular folder in ES File Explorer. Yes, that does sound simple. Since many of the features eventually became redundant with built-in file explorers improving significantly, ES File Explorer lost its appeal, which was further compromised by a severe vulnerability. It was subsequently removed from the Play Store along with other apps by its developer, DO Global, for shady practices. That's a shame. You may still be able to download it from third-party app stores, but we wouldn't recommend it.
I would recommend it.
Yeah, not if they were removed for shady practices. However, if I were to list apps that played a pivotal role in my early days with Android, ES File Explorer would be at the top of the list.
Same.
And here comes the one that I love the most. And Mike was the one who introduced me to Google Plus. And I loved Google Plus. I was so sad when they took it.
I was one of the biggest early adopters, and I just had to throw my hands off of it.
I did everything with Google Plus until they took it away. When Internet
you had to do
2.0,
everything with Google Plus. You had to have in order to have YouTube, you had to have in order to be able to comment on YouTube, you had to have a Google Plus.
That's right, you did, yeah. When Internet 2.0 started to explode with the surge of social apps such as Facebook and Twitter, now X, and user-generated content, Google threw its hat into the ring with Google Plus. But being a Google product and enjoyed the privilege of being a hub, that's true, where other Google services such as Hangouts and Photos could meet, that's true. And because of Google's dominance in search, Plus also became a popular platform for brands to post and gain visibility. Yeah, and remember when we first started doing Friday Night Tech Talk, it was all on Hangouts back then.
Yep.
Eventually, Google Plus became a significant hub for discussion and a more reliable alternative to forums like Quora, as you could verify the poster's identity and potentially gain insights from friends who were added to your circle. That's right. Without limiting your post to a private audience. Communities, especially in their later years, became more approachable niches for topical discussions and connecting with like-minded people. That's very true. That's one of the things that made it so great. However, Google's lack of direction with Google Plus, which also seeped through unwanted social features in photos and YouTube, combined with the popularity of media-driven platforms like Instagram, eventually led to its demise. However, it cannot be discredited for features that sprung off into separate apps that are now indispensable to the Android experience, such as Google Photos. Do you feel any other apps influenced and shaped Android into what it is? Well, I think you picked some perfect ones. Make sure you tell us in the comments below. So, yeah, I think that was a really good walk down memory lane. I think he did a good job in that article, don't you?
I think he's missing Feedly. Was that an app?
Feedly. I remember it. I don't remember if I ever used it, but I remember it was popular.
Yeah. Was
What,
it an app?
7 or 8 years ago?
Way longer than that.
Longer than okay. I'm not even sure if I ever used it, but I certainly heard about it.
It was Google's RSS feeder.
Ah, yeah. So I did probably use it because I was using RSS feeds a lot. So I did probably use it. But you had a ton of RSS ones to use too back then. So anyway, let me stop this. Okay.
I'm trying to think. What were any other ones back then?
Yeah, I'll use your memory, not mine.
Nova Launcher. Yeah.
I tried Nova Launcher, but I lean towards Pixel, and what's that? I still use a couple of them, but it's not going to be on there. I'm trying to think what the launchers that I still keep around to this day. Let me see if I have it on my OnePlus 13.
There was also an app we used for overclocking. I don't remember what it was called. There was also the recovery. We got to the custom recovery.
I don't remember. I don't remember that. I have Nova Launcher on my OnePlus 13, and I never used Nova Launcher, so I guess I never removed it. I remember Mike loved Nova Launcher for a while, and so I think he used it. I think Will used it a lot too.
Let's see. But yeah, I'm still reeling from what's it called, Inbox.
Oh yeah. People just loved him. Now, when I asked you how much you liked it, you sounded like, it was just okay.
Inbox.
But now you sound like you do miss it.
That was the best email app ever, probably. Google said that all the features from Inbox would be in Gmail when they killed it in 1 year.
And it wasn't.
If anything, we've gone backwards.
Okay, well, he said some less features. So, but yeah, so that walk down memory lane obviously was good for both of us, and we both have some good memories. Anyway, Google Plus was my favorite of the bunch.
What was that other one that had promise? Google's gaming stuff. What was it called?
I don't remember. I'm not a big gamer, so you would know it before I would.
The good thing to cloud gaming. What was it called?
Oh, yeah, they just took that away. What, a year and a half, 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, it was either 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, not that long ago. Yeah, and people were very upset. But I can't remember the name of it, but all the stuff that Google promised when it came out, most of it never came to fruition. That was the problem. And they couldn't really make any money off it. I think that was the big problem, don't you think?
Yeah, because people didn't trust Google to not
close. Exactly, because Google kills everything, which they did with that.
Yep.
I need to go look it up. What was Google's gaming platform? Stadia.
Stadia.
Yeah.
Good name.
See, my AI on my computer came back with it instantly. And this is what I use AI for a lot. This kind of stuff. And that's the AI that's on my PC. So that would be Microsoft. Anyway, that's all the stories I have for tonight, folks. I somehow I messed up this this layout, and I can't figure out how to put it back the way I want it, the way it started. I'm messing with it now. I can see me big, but I should see this. Now I have you small. Now I've got it even, us both even, but somehow it's not looking the way it normally. I guess I'll have to wait till I get out. Everything looks okay to you, though, from your end? Looking at the screen? Looks normal?
Yep, checked all the screens. It's all good.
Okay, appreciate that. So it's just me. I changed something here when I click something. That's probably, like when I disappeared for that minute or so.
Mm-hmm.
I must have clicked something else, and I don't know exactly what I clicked, but I don't know how to get it back to where it was. That's not it. Oh, well. I'm sure by next time I bring it up, it'll be back to normal. So, anything exciting that what were you doing last? You were doing something last Saturday or Friday? You were going to an event, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
Oh, you were hosting because this girl roped you into it, right?
Oh, right. Yes, that's right.
What was it you were hosting? I forgot.
It was like a museum meetup.
Yeah, what type of museum? Just a regular museum, an art museum?
Yeah.
Okay, art museums are my favorites. So. Like a lot of people, my favorite museum in the world was always the Guggenheim. And when I lived in Jersey, of course, I could get there in about an hour or so in Manhattan. And then I used to like to go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art too. In the Metropolitan Museum of Art, they had Monet's water lilies. And
beautiful one.
Yeah, water lilies was huge. It was so big, it had a room to itself. And somehow they cut it so it was elongated on one wall, and then there was a shorter wall, but it was all one painting. And when you walked into that room, I could swear you felt like a frog among the water lilies. That's how effective it was in that room.
Okay.
But all the Impressionist artists are by far my favorite artists, Monet and Gauguin. And my favorite artist in the world was, what's his name? The weirdo.
Van Gogh?
Not that weirdo. The weirdo that was around even 30, 40 years ago from Mexico. What's his name? Picasso, yes.
Is he Mexican? I thought he was from Spain or something.
No, you're right. He's from Spain, not Mexico. You're right, Spain. If you ever get a chance to go to his museum in St. Petersburg, it's worth going to. It's awesome, I think, if you like that
Where's
kind of
St.
art.
Petersburg again?
Florida, right across from Tampa.
Okay.
Yeah, right across the bay from Tampa. So you cross the bridge and you're in St. Pete.
Okay.
But I've been to the museum a couple of times, and it's worth going to. Anyway, so anything else exciting? So how did you do as host?
Oh yeah, so like I only got to see I guess maybe not many people came, so I really only had to host 6 people tops.
But you did host. You did your hosting duties faithfully.
Yep.
Okay. So was the girl that roped you into it pleased?
She didn't even come. She said she couldn't make
kidding.
it.
So you were kind of her replacement then.
Yeah.
Well, she really sucked you in. Nice to have friends, I guess, to have friends that are faithful as you are anyway. So how long did you spend there?
Oh yeah. So from 11 a.m. to like 2 p.m.
All right,
Maybe
that's
like
not
1.
too bad. So is it an art museum you enjoy at least?
Yeah, especially like they were doing. This was the last time for this exhibit, the Infinity Room exhibit by Kusama.
Okay.
Uh, it's like a small room, but it's filled with mirrors, so it feels like
Okay.
it goes on for infinity, and it has
Good.
pumpkins inside.
So it kind of went to infinity and beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know I had to get that in. All right, so I'm glad. Now, the fact that you fulfilled your duty so well, I would expect probably means she's going to rope you in again at some point.
Mm, fool me once,
Okay.
shame on her.
Shame on you. So if it happens again, it's on you, not her.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get fooled.
Okay.
Again. I'm not gonna be creating events for her.
Okay. All right. Well, at least you got to do it. Hey, it's another experience in your life that you didn't have before. So that alone is worth something.
That's true.
So what you got going on this weekend? Anything we should know about?
Oh yeah, back to the fair.
What
So,
fair?
the state fair.
Oh, you told me about this.
The
How
biggest
long does it
fair in
go
the
on?
world. 3 weeks.
Oh,
So
it's
in the
3
second
weeks.
week, yeah.
Okay. See, when we lived in Orlando, we had a county fair that was a big deal in Orlando, but it only went on about 2 or 3 nights. Anyway, so
Yeah, so
I gather you enjoyed the fair a lot.
yeah, it's like something new. Like
Okay.
it's nothing like, throw stuff out of the mundane. It's got the food. I love the food. They got performances. I love the performances. Yesterday I
Okay,
saw the
good.
Village People.
Oh, did you?
Macho Man.
Well, wait. Did you do YMCA
Yeah.
though? Okay.
Yeah, that was the last song. They had to stay to the end for them to do the
Of
rock.
course. Yeah, you can't see the Village People and not see that.
I think I prefer Macho Man than to YMCA, to be honest.
I think I'm with you there. I think I'm with you
And
there
it's because
also.
of the Nutty Professor. That's why I like that song so much.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. That makes sense.
But yeah, like the only original member is the policeman. And
Oh, really? He's the only one left?
yeah, him and the drummer are the only original members left.
Okay. Okay.
Everyone else is like, all new. But yeah, he was moving around like like he needed a break. He was getting too old for this.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, to me, if you're going to do that, you got to keep yourself in shape. Like Mick Jagger, he is still in great shape when he still runs around the stage like a nut. And at 84, it doesn't seem to bother him at all. And Ringo's another. Ringo turned 84 this year, and he's still putting out albums. He put out an album last year, and he put out an album this year, and he's still performing. So I admire Ringo's one of those guys that's turned into one of those real sweetheart of a guy, and he's so loving. Everybody loves the guy. As a matter of fact, for his birthday in July, somebody rings his bell with a pizza. He opens the door. Who's standing there with the pizza? Paul McCartney, and brought a bunch of his friends and surprised them, which I thought was very cool.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think if you're going to keep that stuff up, you've got to stay in shape, and that's one thing I give those guys. They stay in shape. And Ringo was a guy who was on drinking and drugs for years, and then to be in as good a shape as he is and still doing it, I think he's the kind of, he lives his life like he's grateful for every moment that he still has. So you can't help but love the guy,
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
Oh, and for his birthday also, the mayor of LA brought him a gift and surprised him too at his house.
Wow,
So it's kind of a big deal. Yeah. Now, of course, I'm sure Ringo, like Paul and like all the Beatles, at one point he's probably has 7 or 8 houses around the world, but he seems to like living in his LA house a lot. So. So my impression is that's where he stays the most. But anyway, if you follow him on YouTube, you'll see he's a very, very positive guy. And I mean, you follow him on Facebook. Everybody loves the guy. He's just awesome. So anyway, he's the kind of guy that makes you feel like following him, you feel good that you're alive too. He has that kind of influence on you.
Okay. So. He does have a YouTube channel?
Not that I know of. I don't think he does. You know what? If he does, I should be following him, shouldn't I? If he does it, I don't think he does anything on it very often. But I'm going to go take a look right now. Because if he does, I will have him there. But yeah, he tends to pop up on Facebook fairly often. You know, I'd say a few times a month. But let me see if I have a YouTube channel with him. Come on. There we go. So if I go down my subscriptions, I'm going to see if I have a Ringo Starr. No, I didn't think so. No, I don't think he has a YouTube channel.
Okay.
Yes, he does. No, I'm fine. There it is. Now let's see if he updates it, because if he does, I should be following him. Yeah, see, his last music video, which is, I think, the last thing he recorded, which was this year, was 9 months ago. So he doesn't put anything on it very often. I guess only when he puts out a new recording. So he's got a video from 9 months ago, and then he's got a video from 2 years ago with his song "Don't Pass Me By," which was all the way back when he was still with the Beatles, when they were still together. That's way back there. Anyway, I highly recommend them. But yeah, it couldn't hurt to follow him on YouTube, because like I said, when he puts out something new, at least you'll get notified of it. And yeah, and I did get notified when this official music video came out. It's called "Look Up." That's the latest thing he did.
Okay.
And it's worth listening to. Huh?
But it's just for music.
Yes. Yeah. But on Facebook, he just pops on and says something, or he's always doing this. He's very, very positive. And for his birthday every year, he tries to exude love for everybody and get everybody else to do it too. That's the kind of guy he is. You know? Anyway, I highly recommend. But of course, I'm a huge Beatles fan, and Paul has always been my favorite Beatle. And if you stop and think about it, Paul McCartney, at maybe still to this day, he has written so many hit songs and had so many other people record them. He has got to be one of the richest songwriters in history. And if you add them all together, they may not have made as much money as he made. That's how popular his stuff was and is to this day. I mean, there was a point when Paul McCartney and John Lennon stuff was so popular, you'd find a pop version of it and a rock version of it and a stage version of it and a country version. I mean, they were that popular all the time. You know, Ray Charles was doing their music, you know. So they made a lot of money for a long, and I'm sure he still is. But he's always been my favorite Beatle and still is. So I've sang a lot of Paul McCartney songs in my time in bands and played a lot of sax too. Okay. So anyway, folks, I guess you're probably tired of listening to us talk on and on. So that's it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you learned something. And I hope you come back next week. And hopefully we had Ted the entire show just about today. So that was awesome. And I hope you guys have a blessed weekend and a very blessed week. And let's remember, we always do better when we love each other. So I should probably end with Come on, people now. Smile on your brother. Everybody gets together. Try to love one another right now. Good night, folks.
Night.